today. We're going to do this panel a little bit differently in that instead of me introducing the panelists, they're going to introduce themselves. And the title is The Evolution of Teaching and Learning Centers Within AMICAL Institutions. They want to make this a very interactive session as well, so bear with them while they give their introductions, give you a little bit of information, and then be ready to participate.
Hi, good morning everybody, or good afternoon rather. First of all, I want to thank AMICAL for inviting us and treating us like kings. And also Evie and the whole group here, I really think it's been just wonderful. I love your city and I love being here. Okay, what we've decided among ourselves is that we're going to give you a 5-minute presentation for each about the center, so that you know the background and the context for each one. And then Hoda is going to moderate, and the idea is that at the end of the day, what we want to do is to come up with some sort of a plan, some feedback from you of how the expertise in these 3 centers can be shared with the rest of AMICAL. So I'm going to start off simply because I am the oldest, and and the Center for Learning and Teaching is actually a pretty mature center, and it is the oldest of the centers. And I actually had a hard time trying to figure out, how in 5 minutes I'm going to be able to introduce the Center for Learning and Teaching at AUC. But anyway, I did it, and what I did is that I chose the framework that the Professional and Organization Development Network chooses in order to explain centers. So actually, at the beginning we started only with faculty development, and now we're really more of a institutional role, if you want, and that's why we're using the word educational development in a very broad sense. And so educational development, according to POD, has 3 subgroups: the faculty development, the instructional development, and the institutional development, and I'll explain each one separately. Now, the faculty development in our case has gone up between, it's not just faculty development also, but they've also given the responsibility of TA professional development, and now they're even talking about, we have a plan for graduate students. Thank you. Okay, he doesn't want me to turn around. So anyway, so the first subgroup really focuses on the individual, the faculty, the TA, as opposed to the others. And for that, we have a number of services. As you can see, I'm not going to go over it, but you have workshops. And recently, we have added what we call the CLT certificates. After a number of workshops, the faculty get a certificate, or the TA. Then we have formative assessment and training, and since day one we've been, collecting data. So we always have data to back up, and this gives you an idea over the years since 2002 what we've been doing. And then, in addition, also on the same thing, we have consultation, and it explains what kind of consultation. Then we have a newsletter that comes every week in principle, and these are the numbers of newsletters. For those of you that want details, we'll do it during the interaction. And the second level now deals with the course and the curriculum of student learning as opposed to the individual faculty. And for that, we have a number of things. It's design. Typically we have teams that design and already design courses. They support faculty for learning technologies. We produce and evaluate instructional materials for the faculty, and we assess when we need to. And also here we have a program here, if you're interested, the Student Technology Assistant Program. And then finally, on the education level, we involved very often quite every year something new. What I have over here is from the institutional point of view, these are the things that we got involved with recently, this year. One of them is a new initiative that the president and the provost are pushing for. It's called the Digital Education Initiative. We're preparing a strategic plan, and we have a pretty big role in there in the support system. There's another interesting project, quite a big project, with the MIT and El Ghurair Foundation. And it has to do developing online courses with using MIT modules, and they're coming over to campus with us and AUB to train us and to offer these courses in the spring. We've been asked to assess special educational projects. In particular, they've been piloting. The economics department has been piloting a large classes of 100 students, which is very unusual for AUC. And so the provost wanted to know what's going on. All right, and so we had a very intense assessment of them, and we just finished writing the report. And we've also piloted and assessed a new management system that may, in the case we choose it instead of Blackboard. To make a long story short, we presented that last year, if you remember. We've piloted it and it bombed. The faculty did not like it, and we're not going to recommend it. And finally, we collaborate with the VP for Digital Innovation to plan and assess instructional technology needs for the university as a whole. So this is in a nutshell. I can't finish without showing you who the group is at the Center for Learning and Teaching. Two of the people here have left us, I think, yes, in this picture. They've been replaced, but I think you may know some of the familiar faces. There's Hoda over here. For those of you who may know Maha, there's Nadine, and there's Jahan here also with us today. So thank you very much, and I'm finished. And Ahmed, I'm so sorry. Ahmed is so much part of AMICAL that I forget he is also. I didn't forget you. Ahmed is one of the oldest CLTNs on board. I thought you were telling me you have 1 minute. Okay. So we leave the questions for later on, but I'll hand over the thing to which one of you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Angie. The long version of my name is Anguelina Popova, and I work for the American University of Central Asia since 2013. And I went to work there because I have a background in educational technology, and I was wrapping up my PhD on usage of podcasts for education. So basically, the Center for Teaching, Learning and Technology exists since I started working for AUCA, but in many ways it's still very young, because for the first 3 years I was alone. And since last year, I have 2 collaborators, one of whom is sitting here, Katya, and you know her because she has been in the institution and in AMICAL for much longer than I have been. And so the things that Aziza was telling of how they are building and they're expanding the domains that they cover, I feel overwhelmed because I feel like we have to do the same things in a very short period of time. So sometimes I feel like somebody's pouring water on my face. I'm trying not to drown. But I have used AMICAL as a major support to figure out how to solve problems and how to anticipate such. And so we already have a collaboration with the Center for Learning and Teaching in AUC, for which I am very grateful. So the things that we are actually, when I was thinking of how to name the center, I suggested to have technology in the name, and then back then Vice President for Academic Affairs said, no, don't put technology in the name. It's going to scare people. I was like, no, we should have technology in the name, because teachers do understand that they need training in how to use technology for educational purposes. So I think that at this point, what we're doing is we're doing a lot of things, and everything is still taking shape. But we have an approval to provide a teaching professional development certificate program, which is still taking shape, and we are trying to recruit more people. But in Aziza, I was part of the first wave. So we're having some more in the summer school, and then people are going to have certificates, and we told them you can apply. You can use those certificates when you do your self-evaluation, when you want to apply for promotion, and so on. And I think that this has been an important trigger for people to come more massively. But one more thing I wanted to say is that now the president of the university told me, if you want, you can put quality in the name of the center, because we also have to, we also put in charge to support the departments in how do they assure quality of education. So when I said the water over my face, that's what I meant. There are like teaching, learning, technology, and quality assurance. So I am ever since I started coming to AMICAL, I have been trying to maximize the what I take with me back to my institution, and take it not only for myself but also for my colleagues. And I'm proud to say that we have been collaborating very well with the library, and this year we had 9 people from AUCA to the conference, and I think that's because we managed to promote the value of AMICAL to our colleagues, and more people are actually. Last time when somebody asked me when are we going to get the final certificates, they asked, is it going to be an AMICAL professional development certificate? They did. So I think this is a victory in many ways, both for the center that I'm leading and for the visibility of AMICAL at the institution. And I'm going to stop here and pass the word to Mimoza to say a few words about the center she's leading. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, AMICAL, for offering us this opportunity to present our work and also to share experiences and find the ways of new collaboration. And thank you, American College of Thessaloniki, for hosting us here. I am Mimoza Polloshka, and I am a math faculty at the American University in Kosovo, or as it's called, RIT Kosovo. And I'm also head of the Faculty Development Center at the RIT Kosovo. After the presentation of Aziza and Angie, I feel like I'm a freshman over here, because we are just at the beginning of the center. So let me just give you a bit of the information about our university. So RIT Kosovo is founded in 2002. Previously was known as the American University in Kosovo, or AUK. Is a non-profit higher education institution which is chartered in Kosovo and offering degrees from Rochester Institute of Technology in United States. For more, I don't want to give more information about this, but I just put the link there so that you can check our institution. This is just a photo of our campus. We have a beautiful campus. Now I will start giving you just a brief history about the Faculty Development Center of the RIT Kosovo. We are just newly established, so it's established in October 2015 with the financial support of the US Embassy in Pristina through the University Support Grant. So after the project proposal was finalized, then we contacted with the Faculty Development Center of the San Jose State University in California, and their director, Dr. Amy Strage, came for a 4 days training where first she held the meetings with the university administrators and the faculty for the needs of the Faculty Development Center. After the assessments and the training sessions, then we came up with the recommendations and the initial activities of the center. For more information for the center, you can look at the link which is given here. What it's important to mention that I found it very useful is that when we started first the center, the mission of our center was compiled by all the faculty so that they have know that they will have the presence in the activities of the center. The initial activities of the Faculty Development Center are the following, and actually they are the only activities that we are developing for the moment. This is because of lack of the staff and lack of the financial support. So we agreed to have this lunchtime collegial conversation where the faculty meet and they present their ideas and the suggestions that what they would like to have support from the Faculty Development Center. Friday professional development morning sessions. This is a very popular activity of our center because the faculty are presenting their recent research and we called it Friday sessions because on Friday we don't have classes so that all the faculty have time. The other activity is faculty onboarding, so for the new coming faculty, faculty recognition and awards, and also the profiles of faculty scholarship. So as I said, it's only me in the center, so there is no other staff. And in addition to my teaching load, I also lead the Faculty Development Center. So it's very important for me to be here and also to have the ideas and the experiences of other centers and see the ways how we can collaborate in the future. For more, I will leave the floor for the questions. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm Hoda Mostafa, and I'm from the Center for Learning and Teaching at the American University in Cairo, and I'm going to be sort of hosting this session. I would say moderating. But there are, I think, a lot of questions I hope that you will come up with. But to start the conversation rolling, I thought I'd start with this idea of what AMICAL means to all of us, which is this idea of collaboration. So how do you, as faculty members, librarians, IT staff, whatever your role is at your institution, how do you see the collaboration between your institutions and Centers for Learning and Teaching across AMICAL? Does anyone have any ideas or thoughts? We do have some, people at the back, great.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, as you know, AUB, we definitely have our own Center for Teaching and Learning, and they're really active. They do a lot of, workshops, and they provide faculties, members with a lot of opportunities, for development. In addition to that, we have a lot of faculty learning communities. And in my department at the moment, we're working on a mentorship program for new faculty members who come in. And we recently decided that one of the program coordinators should be in charge of faculty development just for our particular department. So what I'm thinking, it could be interesting not only to have collaboration between centers of teaching and learning, but even these faculty learning communities, having them cross institutions, cross AMICAL institutions, can actually be, I think, very fulfilling and can, open the door to very interesting discussions and growth, even.
Does anyone else have any, have learning communities as well? That's something we can think about. Just to get a show of hands, do other institutions? So we have AUS has learning communities. Dr. Aziza, you want to add something? Do you want to add something there? Yeah.
We have a new faculty learning community after the week-long new faculty orientation. We have, so they're either topic-based or cohort-based. The topic-based ones, the one that's most popular is actually what I call SOTL, Scholarship of Teaching and Learning on Sundays. And it helps people get started on a SOTL research project. We have also just started one. I'm saying we in quotation marks because, like one of the presenters, I'm also a one-woman show. It's called Reimagining Teaching and Learning at AUS, and we just started that one. And it was very popular because it was focusing on technology. We've had from faculty. I'm trying to remember the names. I try to get catchy names to get people on board. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But every semester I have, sometimes I have a learning community. Sometimes they're very popular, and I'll have to cap it at 20 because I'm actually providing lunch for them. And other times I'll have 3 people. So we have a really good lunch for those ones. But so.
Yeah, Dr. Aziza, you want to add?
I just wanted to. You're talking about learning communities and each one of us in separate centers. But the whole idea, and I'm hoping of this panel, is that if we can, how would we, there's a lot of expertise in the room over here. How can that expertise be transferred, or how can it be exchanged? So going back to your question, you were saying that you have a faculty person, a faculty member in your department that's going to be working on mentorship. Well, is there somebody here that can help with that? The same thing we did with the, we collaborate online, if you wish, she and I, of things that they may need and we may have, or vice versa. So I think, again, it's not only what can be done, but how we can do it, because we know we can go back and then nothing happens. So I'm just...
Okay, so going back to the what kinds of, again, we may not be aware of every institution's needs. What kinds of things do you think that Centers for Learning and Teaching can help with? What are the needs of your institutions? And maybe as a group, today we can come up with some ideas of how we can meet those needs as a consortium or as a team versus each institution doing their own thing. So. A lot of things were mentioned today, so professional development workshops, learning communities, maybe joint kinds of, research on scholarship of teaching. These are just things that come to mind. What are your thoughts? Yeah. Yeah.
Also at the UB, the Center of Teaching and Learning, they do organize a conference once a year. So maybe it could be done. It could be done like collectively.
You see, we also do our own conference. What I see right now, and then maybe I'm jumping a little bit ahead, sometimes it would be useful if there is help, if AMICAL can help in the travel maybe, or somehow, I don't know, or organizing the conference. That's one way of doing it, yeah.
So if AUB is already holding a yearly conference, and I think the focus is, there is a focus on scholarship of teaching and classroom action, effective teaching. Yes. Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
Networking will be for the first year good. But you need to talk to them. This is what I'm saying.
If I might add something to this, I actually met with the people from the Center for Teaching and Learning in AUB, and I think they mentioned that a lot of the people who presented the conference are faculty members with whom they work. Yeah. So, there's such an yeah. No, I mean this is like a shows the effectiveness of collaboration between faculty and center, because then people have actually something to present at the conference, and the conferences I unfortunately couldn't go, but some of my colleagues went, and it's a very high quality. And it is, we probably know a lot of these people because they might have come to the conference. I am pretty sure that they will be open to have other presenters from AMICAL can work with.
We have a yearly symposium too, but mostly it is our faculty that are presenting. So that's another thing. I mean, it's the exchange. I mean, when the money's there, it's easy to go. But I think it's a very good idea. Thank you.
Well, Ahmed's here, Zorani, maybe live streaming our symposium this year. Yeah, and then everyone can watch it. And maybe AUB would be interested in something like that as well. So again, going back to needs. So this need for maybe a scholarly discourse, or this being able to have a platform for you to showcase your work in the classroom, or libraries, or whatever, wherever you're working. What other professional development needs do you think your faculty or faculty you work with, or from your own personal perspective, what other needs do you think you have?
Can I just add, it doesn't have to be only the faculty. I would think also the instructional technologists, I think
Librarians,
the librarians.
across the board, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts from the room? No? Yes? Okay. We have a hand going up.
Just speaking about maybe combining these expertise or potentially models or programs that we are already running within certain centers. So, of course, depending on how this would even be able, because it would be cross-institutional, but maybe sharing resources by using AMICAL Connect or Net, or maybe we have one person at AUK, but we would really love to have someone to deal with a very specific topic that our faculty may need. So if we can reach out for an existing resource or tutorial or whatever may be there, and just somehow combine efforts, of course, as long as this is something that institutions would allow for.
So do you, as a group, do you see the need for some sort of a needs assessment, or a call for a survey of some sort, so that we, as Centers for Learning and Teaching and AMICAL, could get a sense of, when you say a specific need and a specific resource, how would we know, or how would you know, or how?
Absolutely.
So do you think this would be something moving forward that we could consider? Just, yeah.
And
I see some heads nodding.
And then not necessarily that this means that we all need to have the same interest.
Yeah.
But that would definitely help knowing that there may be few institutions that have the same need. And again, this then becomes the collaborative project and combines with one of the previous points where we together could develop something again, as long as institutions allow for that kind of resource sharing.
And not reinventing the wheel, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's
If it already
the worst
exists.
one
Yeah.
that we very often do.
Yeah. So we other question, unless someone from the panel wants to add or follow up on what Vanna just said.
She has a question.
Yeah, you have another.
It's open now. Okay. Well, we are here members of the Digital Pedagogies Committee, and we've been talking about this a lot, about resource sharing. And I think my personal bias is that one thing that could really help is doing more synchronous online events.
Yeah.
And because that's a way of not always having to travel, and also bringing to, when events are fully online and synchronous, then everybody enters in a more equitable way than sometimes having live events and then live streaming them to the people who can't travel. So I think considering that there is a resource, there's Adobe Connect, I think that AMICAL still has a license, and that there's expertise in this room about how to do active learning in those platforms, so that one thing that we could share is how to run a really great active learning online.
Fully online.
Fully online.
Yeah.
Synchronous meeting.
That was something that when we met as a panel, we considered, we were hoping someone would come up with it. So that's great that someone made that suggestion. So thank you.
We could have it twice a year, for example,
Yeah.
different themes. And
Hi.
Robbie, okay.
Hello.
Hello.
There we go. So, one of the things I was curious about was dealing with the teaching and learning in technology, specifically in the IT department. The goal is always to just try to reach out as much as possible to give them what they need, and not just infrastructure like for setting up meetings, but also when it comes to incorporating technology within the classroom. And earlier today there were a lot of presentations where that's been done already, and there have been some really good examples, but what it would be awesome would be some concrete documentation to just show best practices and things like that. And we touched on that before, but you know, some guiding principles and things that have worked would be awesome to hear, because we want to make a full circle of just faculty, staff, IT, everybody just kind of working together to get the teaching and learning center objectives met.
So what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting a video with a text that goes with it that says the best practices of certain things? More, you know.
It's almost like piggybacking off of what was just said about best practices for just development, but focus more on how your IT department should be, or how heavily they should be incorporating themselves within the teaching and learning process. Like things we should and should not be. Yeah, best practices. There you go. Best practices or lessons learned. Thank you.
You know, I was just looking at the, you know, the flipboard over there, and there are things about like digital storytelling and digital skills. I mean, a whole bunch of things that, I mean, you guys are already doing, or if you're not doing, maybe you want to do some more. So there's a lot of things that I think everybody would, in a sense, if possible, if it had it on the tip of the hand, would be doing or exchanging ideas or experience. So that's the kind of thing that we're hoping to come up with.
All right, so I'm going to just follow up with another question that if we were to map, right, all the resources, the human capital, the expertise in the across the consortium, would that be a useful exercise? You know, what can each institution contribute? So AUP can do this, AUP can do that, AUC can do this, AUB, Central Asia. So what can everybody sort of contribute? And then we might have a more holistic view of what everyone can do before we would move forward with something like an online conference where everybody could give a little bit. That's a big job to do.
If I might
Yes.
say something about this, actually, it's. I was just thinking of how are we adding a lot of structure, like we are really institutionalized in some way. So we are in AUCA hosted the IQ meeting, and I heard the same thing there, where basically our presidents and provosts met, and they thought we have so much expertise within our institutions, and we do have we share same or similar problems, and that's at administrative level. But on the level of our work job of the IT, the library, and the centers, we are trying to achieve similar quality of what we're doing, right? So we do have. We have the same challenges or similar challenges, and I think we already have a lot of knowledge and skills, and doing something like knowledge management in a more structured way is actually, I think it's what we need to do, because the conference shows how, especially the unconference where we actually can communicate in a different way, we start figuring out common projects, and we involve people that are not necessarily faculty or librarian or an IT. So I think at least we recognize that we do have so much already existing and even more capacity to grow.
All right, does anyone from the audience, yes, do you want to add anything there?
It's okay. So let me to add something from on behalf of the Professional Development Committee. It's so great that we're thinking about the same thing, actually. So tomorrow we'll have, let's say, a couple of minutes to present the ideas of the Professional Development Committee, as other committees will also present. So we're thinking, actually, is about organizing of this survey on professional development needs. So we have already been conducted this 2 years ago. We have some results, but we need to repeat it. And but the results we have already received showed us that we have a huge potential of collaboration, because just imagine around 75%, if I'm not mistaken, of people who answered that they want to to get some more knowledges, the same people, 75% of them, told that they are ready to provide a seminar too. So they are ready to share the knowledges. So the huge amount of people was ready to do this. So this is the first item. The second item that we have discussed with the Digital Pedagogy Committee. Thanks very much for this committee, the representative of this committee here. Thank you very much. We have discussed the possibility to provide a series of maybe one webinar of how to conduct a webinar in the best possible way. So this is the answer for the question of how to organize a webinar. So it will be also a collaboration between two committees to help members to do this. So that's the only remark. Thank you.
All right. I think Alex wants to add something.
Yeah, okay. So
is it on? Is the mic on?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So I was trying not to allow AMICAL members to talk, but a couple of the things that you're thinking about are very in line with kind of the things that we're trying to do, but there's often too many things to do, and we try to respond to members' priorities and the things that they find interesting. So the idea of mapping human capital, essentially this is what we've done in secret by creating profiles for AMICAL members over the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh, you've been watching us.
Yes. So the idea behind that is essentially to do that and to facilitate that kind of thinking. I think there's few of us that actually asking a few questions to the right people might be more helpful than trying to map everything. But there is some sense in which we can create, for example, I was talking with Angie earlier, a list of specific contact people so that you know who to ask at specific institutions. Often if you ask, let's say, the wrong person at an institution, you don't manage to get to the right answer, or it seems like there's no answer there for you. But I think if we can understand what you're trying to do, I think we can adapt some of the things that we're already doing, and are essentially, developing the collaboration network is essentially one of the grant-funded sort of strategic areas. So this is very interesting to us, and we're very interested in collaboration. It's meaningful for your work and what you're. Part of the challenge has been how to map, back of the envelope, a few thousand people working at 27 institutions across, 50-odd academic disciplines across 3 different major. There's a lot of complexity to figure out how to map, but if we start with the thing that would be interesting to you, we can sort of start there and build up.
That sounds like a plan. All right. Any other thoughts from the audience along those lines of sharing expertise and human capital and resources? Because we've been talking about that for a while.
Can I say something? Yeah. I'm just trying to think, again, I mean, the whole idea is that the main topic was faculty development or faculty motivation to develop. Under the umbrella of, there is that the paradigm in learning and teaching has changed. There's no doubt about it. And sometimes it's recognized that faculty are probably the most difficult people to change. And I'm thinking backwards. When I started, when I didn't know anything about it, I came and I was, I was alone and I was kind of embarrassed to see, I couldn't, what am I going to do? How am I going to convince them? Well, what helped me is that I saw what was going in other centers, let's say, and there were certain programs, certain things that seemed to work and seemed to be simple. So I think maybe we should start off with the need rather than trying to get everything done, right? What is the need? If you have to think about what it is the need as a whatever your as a instructional technologist, or as a faculty developer, or as a librarian, if there is a challenge there, so what is, throw it out and we'll see what, who has the answer, the best answer to that give you, and then maybe how we can do it. But trying to address everything is it's a little overwhelming. For example, in your case, I'm thinking about you doing subtle and with your okay, how'd you get, I would like to know the details of that. I mean, yes, we're doing classroom action research. It'll be interesting for us to know the kind of incentives that you have, what are the kind of things you have, so the details. So I think this is the spirit of what we're trying to do. I know that I learned a lot. I had a mentor overseas. I saw her once at the beginning, and for 10 years she was helping me out with my questions, and that's in many ways I got. And I thought so I didn't have to go to the States to do that, and so I'm just throwing in there that it's if there is expertise here that we know about and we hear about, then what is it that we can, how can we make use of it, and how can we exchange? Because there's so much that it's so much we won't do anything. So I'm just too much choice also is.
The paradox of choice. We don't want too many choices. Following again, maybe another question on what Dr. Aziza just said, because we're talking about Centers for Learning and Teaching and the evolution of Centers for Learning and Teaching, for those institutions that do have centers or who do not have centers, how do you see these centers as maybe being mediators as well? So how can these centers help in bringing these people together? If you have some success story in your institution that you'd like to share.
I'm talking now as a librarian, and we do have an library instruction program. We tried to approach the CTL at AUB, and they were very cooperative. They wanted to help us, and they warned us that faculty are very picky, and they are very picky in choosing what events to attend, and they don't have time. So you have to offer them what they are convinced they wanted. You cannot just market to them. We did try maybe 4 or 5 times. It was not very successful. It's not a success story. It's just I'm telling you that they tried to help us, but we did not reach the point of attracting faculty to attend library sessions unless it is related to their teaching. Like the only one that was really successful is Turnitin. Or, for example, journal citation reports. What journal to publish? That's all.
Do you want to comment?
No, I can just share the experience from the newly formed Faculty Development Center, because we also had that discussion with my mentor, Dr. Amy Strage, and we try to keep our initial activities at small, so we don't start with too many on the list and then not finishing them. So first we conducted a survey with the faculty, and they came up with their suggestions. And one of the activities that we had is also the promotion of their recent research. Well, they promote that in these Friday sessions. So this is the activity that our faculty wants. Also, another one, it's also the training that they would like to have in my courses, the Turnitin workshops, etc. in the technology.
You mentioned POD when you. So I was invited to present years ago, and we call it best practices. I'm a member of the small college, and it's defined small college. One, it's defined by how many students you have, and it's also defined by the size of your center. So student-wise, AUS doesn't fit in, but wise it does. So we had, and I think the reason I'm bringing this up, it might be useful, is we had 12 sessions, so we called it kind of the speed dating thing, where people came in and we had 5 minutes to talk about our best practice. We prepared a handout for everybody, basically, talking about something that worked in our, so people, it's not saying you must do it this way, but just to give some ideas. And we were voted, time here, but we were voted the best session that year because people came away with so many good ideas. Now, it was an exhausting session to give, as you can imagine, minutes, I think. Maybe been more than that, but between 7 minutes to present. So I saw so many people that came to the table, documenting all these great ideas that people are doing, and we bring in the challenges as well. I'm sure somewhere along the line I still have the format that we need to fill in and stuff like that. But if people are interested in that, that's a way of collaborating. Maybe at another AMICAL session or our own new conference.
So, are you proposing an idea for next year?
I am actually.
Speed dating at AMICAL 18?
Yeah, maybe we don't want to call it speed dating, but speed information gathering or something like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Any other ideas from the audience? Any other thoughts? Okay, Jeff?
I'm sorry, I came in on the conversation a little bit late when you were talking about organizing possible future events and maybe piggybacking on existing workshops and events that have been organized for teaching and learning, I think at Beirut, maybe other places. Another model that we've tried in a few contexts, which is identifying kind of exceptional externally organized events that relate to a topic we're trying to work on, and sending a cohort, an organized cohort of AMICAL members who are interested in that topic to those events with some specific guidelines about what we're expecting them to take out of that, to bring back to AMICAL and share with other members later at their own institutions, but also through later conferences and workshops. We did this in the past with sending a group to Iliad's digital humanities event for liberal arts institutions in the US. And that was kind of the start of what we've been doing on digital scholarship in the context of AMICAL since then. That cohort kind of went on to become a committee and then to plan other events. Would this make sense? Would that model make any sense for in the context of teaching and learning to identify really, I don't know if POD is the right one or other high profile or high quality events where we would take advantage of the expertise there, but also the energy, the synergies of sending an AMICAL group who could sort of keep developing that further afterwards. It's always nice to focus on existing events or the internal knowledge, like what's going on with Beirut and AUC, but it's just another model, another possible model that.
I think it sounds like a great idea. The two things, like you say, they go and they bring it back to to AMICAL, so it's their own professional development and they're sharing it. But it is something that needs to be funded, correct? I mean, it's not cheap. What we did at the center, we put a lot of emphasis on professional development of our own staff. A lot, and because we don't have a lot of money, some of it is done online, and that and we do target some things that are online that are not too expensive and spend the money. But in return, each one that does that comes back and gives a seminar to us. We do as much as possible, or they translate their learning to something to the center. So in a sense, that's what you're proposing, except that this time. It's a bigger, it's back to the group over here. I think that's a great idea. I'm thinking aloud, because it's not enough that you guys are going back reinvigorated from here. It is what happens on your campus, and that is the challenge. And I'm just, that's what we're trying to address.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up, and then I'll pass it. But since you asked the question about funding, I didn't add that there is a funding structure, of course, within AMICAL for supporting things like this. We have our workshop grant program, which we have used in the past to interpret a workshop to include external workshops that are organized. Concretely, what I'm talking about is grants that you can apply for. A group can propose of roughly 15,000 is sort of the standard, the target budget we look at, 15,000 euros to either organize a local event, a small face-to-face workshop, or in this case, to target an external event and send a cohort. So the budget can be adjusted according to the that exists there as a way to send a cohort.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you. I was just going to add a very small part about what Dr. Aziza was saying, is that I feel like a framework that has really worked for us is that not only we seek professional development outside, either online or abroad by traveling, we also learn a lot from each other. So whoever has gone to a conference or has done a study on anything, we actually organize these internal professional development workshops amongst ourselves, where we just sit in a workshop format and that person would speak to us about their experience and what they learned, and we try to sort of do another like smaller project where we apply these practices that they learn when they do these professional development experiences abroad.
There was also a follow-up that Mimoza wanted us to include in the list of questions we prepared, but it was especially relevant to smaller centers for learning and teaching. What kind of support can AMICAL provide for supporting smaller centers for learning and teaching in getting support from other centers to help them grow through visits or site visits? So coming to stay with us for a couple of days, seeing how things are going, or having someone go to.
Well, I have taken full advantage of this, and I can say that it's there are a few things that I'm thinking. Like I was thinking of what is the purpose of all of us getting together? Like we obviously enjoy each other's company and we're having a lot of nice time and we exchange a lot of ideas. We go back home, so we do operate. But when we go home, we operate under certain conditions. Like so if it's a priority for my institution to have student-centered learning, so all of us, teachers, centers, librarians, IT, somehow have to support this objective, right? And I think that this is a shared objective of all of our institutions. And then going to what you said about faculty wouldn't do something unless, well, if it's a priority of our institutions, then it's going to be also clear for the faculty that they need to take the training that we are offering them. So, and I was thinking, earlier we talked about who are we missing in this group, and I now think of another group of people we might be missing, and that be people who are somewhere in the administration, like head of departments, for example, because we need to collaborate with them. Well, the thing is, the deans and the presidents, they met separately from us, but I think we need once in a while to invite them to this, because we need to have more. It seems like everyone is on the same page, but then maybe we read between. Okay, so we had two separate pages
together
of the same
but apart.
But in order for us to be more productive and more successful, we do need to be to bring back home what we learn here. But to be effective back home, we need the structure for that. And to have the structure, we need our deans and administration to understand what is it that we are doing and how we are doing it well. So I think that we need to extend a little bit the group.
Okay, so how?
Although I understand that not everyone likes to have fun with their boss necessarily, but we need to have a conversation.
So how can AMICAL empower us more to work effectively in our home institutions? Is that kind of, Well, who wants to start?
Just
Alex or
a
Dr.
little bit,
Aziza?
a little bit of history. The first AMICAL meeting invited all the provosts. I mean, I remember that. There was Celeste, there was our provost. So that was a key thing to get them also convinced with the concept. Go ahead,
Alex.
Conversation back further.
I think we need to turn on the mic.
So not answer that question unless Jeff has any insightful.
Question of bringing the deans into the conversation. I think the only practical way to actually do that is to occasionally, and we've tried to do this in the past, but to occasionally organize the conference concurrently with the IQ meeting, because they come together already once a year.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do that, but that's one way we could.
One of the things, and this sort of, at the risk of derailing this conversation,
derail away is
bad
fine.
interest. One of the things I hear here, and I've heard at other events and in other conversations, is that there's a problem of communication. A lot of excitement in the conference, and then this conference excitement, it dissipates when you go away. One of the things that we've been trying to do with the community forum that we.
Your mic is on, or
my mic is on. I'm just I just speak softly, so I'll be shouting into the mic. So one of the things that there's this communication problem where people go back home, and they want to talk to each other, and they sometimes do, but then it sort of petters out. And one of the things that we're trying to do with AMICAL Connect, and it used to be a lot more structured for those of you that used it, and we're trying, the more we're looking at it, the more we're making it, we're simplifying the structure of AMICAL Connect, which is our community forum. And the reason why we're doing that is because we've discovered that having conversations in a public space, and public, it's actually AMICAL only, it's not visible to other people, but having conversations in a common forum where other people can look at, they can join in the conversations. And that has been very important and very critical, as it is here, that sort of people can interrupt your conversations, sort of, and they can get into them, or they can say, oh, hey, I have a colleague who'd be interested in this, and they can sort of drag them in. Whereas if you have these conversations over email or, you know, in closed meetings, it's harder to reach this broader audience. So one of the things that we've envisioned with AMICAL Connect, which is again part of our way of creating a collaboration network across the consortium, a more organic collaboration network that's not it's not mapping specific sort of human capital resources, but allowing people to ask each other questions in an open forum that other people can look at and participate in. So one of the things that I hear that's interesting is people want to do this, but are having trouble to kickstart this. And I heard when I heard about best practices that Robbie was saying, one of the ways in which we can use Connect is to have people like you and other sort of who can contribute content and contribute ideas, do so there, because then we can start pulling people in and create a more engaged community there. Because once we have enough people there, once we have a critical mass of a community there, maybe 50, 60 engaged people who are there at reasonable intervals in a given week or a given month, we'll be able to carry this momentum, this excitement that we have in the conference throughout the year. If we manage to do this, it's going to be amazing for everyone. It's a bit hard to do, sort of to bootstrap it. We've been trying, and it starts a little bit and it stops, and it starts a little bit and it stops. So I'm going to try to do this tomorrow at the closing, and I'm going to try and do this tomorrow at the conference, and I'm just going to keep beating this drum because, for example, Elisabetta, who just walked in, has done this with a resources group and a specific sort of large stakeholders group, and we had very good results of people being engaged with and sort of communicate. And we found that this has been very productive, or a lot more productive than sort of communicating and seeing a lot of people and doing this in email and sort of in closed groups. So that's my sort of, and I'll wrap this up. I hope I didn't relay the conversation too much.
Here. All right. Since I'm sort of moderating, I know we're soon be wrapping up the session to catch the buses, but what I picked up from that is open AMICAL Connect and keep the tab open on your computer so you check it regularly. I mean, who's been very active on AMICAL Connect? Maybe we can, you know, learn from them. Lurking.
Yeah, I've lurked a few times.
There was a suggestion Dr. Aziza made about when you mentioned sharing resources on AMICAL Connect. Maybe we could have our newsletters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on AMICAL Connect, our CLT newsletters. So maybe we can have Nadine post those regularly when they come out. That's a suggestion as well. Yes?
Yeah, and Alex, during the meeting several times, I think I need to say it, we several times discussed the usage of Connect. And my question is, several people mentioned the necessity of some kind of digest of what happened during some period of time, so not to read all threads and see what's happening there. Maybe I missed something. Is it probably it already exists? Does it exist or not? If it's possible to create or not?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So that I don't derail the conversation entirely, I won't get into the technical weeds. What I was thinking of doing, and it depends what how everything else will shake out in the conference tomorrow. I was thinking of doing an unconference session where I want to gather a few people that have a stake in making Connect work and talk a little bit about them, explain some of the ways that we can structure it, and try and sort of reach a consensus about how to do this in a way that's meaningful to them and that would be useful to them. Because I know a lot of people who are could be very good engaged members and be very useful to the rest of us, sort of to be able to hear from them, but they're also very busy, so we need to find this balance. And I've been erring on the balance of not sending out emails, keeping notifications very low, sort of out of a respect of people's time. But this hasn't been a particularly successful strategy in terms of getting people to actually get on the platform and find it useful. So we want to ramp that up a little bit, but we want to do it in a respectful way. It's impossible to test. So we have to do it in real life. So what I'll do is I'll have some conversation with a few people, and I've been doing this already to try and improve this. There is kind of a digest system, but it's not a perfect system.
Thank you. Robbie, you have a question?
Hijack anything, but like I feel like some of the things that happen in Connect. Is this too loud?
No.
Okay, good. How do you guys envision Slack fitting into everything? Because I've tried really like hard to be engaged in that, hoping that that's going to be the thing. It's just like, oh, that's an interesting topic. Let me link that to something and connect. How do you envision Slack kind of being the almost like a springboard to connect conversations? Because with Slack, if something happens and someone says, oh, we'll talk to this person, and you at them, it kind of like if they open it up, they say, oh, somebody mentioned me and somebody's talking about me, right? And they can go straight to it. And that starts the informal conversation that can be formalized on AMICAL Connect. But is that the way, am I doing this wrong? Like,
am I connecting?
Right, am I connecting correctly or?
It's okay to have multiple tools and they don't all need to serve the same purpose. And, you know, for Slack, mostly we use it like in a large context for events like this, but for sort of ongoing conversations, it's not very viable because it's synchronous and it sort of interrupts people's workflow. Yeah, say if you have a small team and they're working on like a dedicated task. For example, we have like a Slack team for like the behind the scenes people. Like this is how the magic happens. Like how this thing is orchestrated partly on Slack. Right. But because we need to do this like right now and not 2 days from now. But you know, if you want, and you know, if you want to ask a question that's not a matter of life and death, and you can get an answer in a day, Connect would be much better because it creates an archive, and it's a little bit slower. It's more for thoughtful conversation. You can take your time. You can write a little bit longer. You know, it's Slack is a little bit. I don't want to. It's not more trivial necessarily, but it's more for quick back and forth.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up this session and sort of let's maybe try and leave the session with some actionable points. I know that Cindy's going to be reporting back, and I can see Jeff's taken notes, and I've taken some notes as well. But when we were meeting to prepare for the panel, all three of the panelists almost simultaneously, unanimously, came up with this idea of having a fully online conference that all AMICAL institutions could contribute to. Dr. Aziza, do you want to talk a little bit about that, or someone in the audience on how that could happen and what kind of contributions each institution could make? The committees are here as well, I can see, and this might be something that's low cost and high impact for everyone.
You know, I haven't given it much thought, or we haven't given it much thought, but right now we have 3 people at AUC, 3 of somebody has said CLT are actually attending an online conference for a whole day, and they're very excited about it, and we just thought that, well, if they're excited about it, why isn't that we're not doing something? But again, we can't decide what the theme of the conference will be, or what what you would like to listen to or hear. But it's something that we talk about. You know, the symposium that we were talking about earlier, you know, at AUB and at AUC, I think some things that some of the faculty do are so interesting. You know, the kind of maybe 8-minute lightning talks on on things that may be interesting to the whole. So we can think about it. I mean, it's a cheap way of getting professional development, and we can all contribute to that, and see how it goes. I mean, it's a thought. There's no much meat on it, but it's something that we can think about. And I really, this is not going to cost money. We're just going to use the Adobe Connect, correct? Or Ahmed will have something some video that accompanies it or something like that. We'll see. Face to face. Yeah. Tell me, give me more concrete ideas. Give us more concrete ideas when you talk about it.
Everybody is busy with his own work.
Right.
Like I'm imagining if I go and tell CTL, okay, there's this and this, they will say, okay, I'll put it on my schedule, but it's not the same like if they meet you and they talk to you.
Okay.
I feel it's more, it should be more
I'm just trying to
for
get
the
it
first time. For
right,
the first
okay.
time. After that, you can meet online or maybe a representative from each institution. You can all meet, not all the department, just one representative.
Yeah, but what I think is a good idea is to you guys tell us what you think, because again, it's something that would have to be of interest to everybody at AMICAL, not just AUB or AUC or whatever. So think about what it is that you think, and let's throw the ideas in a box, and then we can come up and see what happens, and then we can follow up by other way of doing it.
All right, so we are unfortunately out of time. I think we got a lot of ideas and a lot of conversations started.